All right, welcome everyone to today's episode of the Ari Louis Show here on Israel National Radio, Root Sheva. The show is syndicated as Messiah Hour on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. And, of course, you can email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. A reminder that I'm on JApp. JApp is a Jewish application which features sharing for big rabbis, lectures from historians, and episodes of this program. To find JApp, you can go to www.j-app.me. or by downloading JApp in iTunes and Google Play stores. The baseball season is upon us in the United States, only a few weeks away. On the line right now to give us a preview of the season, back to the program, Radio Mike. Radio Mike, how you doing out there?
Okay, I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, you're doing great. It's great to have on the show. It's been a little too long since we've had you back. Let's get a breakdown first of the two teams that went to the World Series. The Giants, of course, victorious, and the Royals considered a bit fluky. They had not won a playoff series since 1985. They take the Giants to 7 games. Giants, of course, had some very strong playoff performances. What do you think first? Talk about the Royals and their chances of getting back to the series this year.
Well, that was really a great run that the Royals had there. It was fun. They had a lot of speed. Every break they possibly could have, they got. I'd be shocked if they got that far again. I don't even see them making the playoffs this year. They lost James Shields to the Padres. They got in a couple players like Alex Rios from Toronto, but, he's a little bit old. Kendrick Morales from the Los Angeles Angels, so that's not going to help them much. Also an old player, on the downside of his career. Every break the Royals could get last year, that's what they got. There's no chance they're even going to make the playoffs. They're in a very tough division. No way they're making it.
All right, pretty stark words from Radio Mike, and we'll talk more about the AL Central later on in this program. Let's go to the Giants. Now, the Giants, what's interesting about them, they've won 3 World Series in the last 5 years, and all 3 times they've been major long shots. Even last season, the odds of them going to the World Series were, I believe, 22-1, somewhere around there. Are the Giants going to get respect now that they've won 3 titles in 5 years, or will they still not be the favorites in their own division? Will that go to the Dodgers of the NL West?
This year, the Giants, it's every odd year, so they're going to get it. The Giant fans have a very good friend out in San Francisco. She's a very, very big Giant fan, so now they're getting a little greedy that they won every second year, so now they want to win 2 in a row. Well, it's unfortunate they're not going to win this year. They lost Pablo Sandoval, Jake Peavy, one of their frontline pitchers. He's getting old. Tim Hudson, he's like turning 40 years old. They don't really have the starting pitching that they had before, and you can't really count on Matt Cain because he's coming off a major injury. Madison Baumgartner, he threw a lot of innings last year, so he might still be a stud, or you can't count on him pitching like he did last year. I don't even foresee them making it into the playoffs.
Wow. So Radio Mike says both teams that made the World Series last year will not make the postseason this year. We have you on record on that. Let's go to the Dodgers. Obviously, they feature Clayton Kershaw, who not only won the Cy Young last year, he won the MVP as well. What do you expect out of Clayton, and what do you expect out of the LA Dodgers?
Well, the Dodgers, they have a lot of players there. They have a lot of talent out there. Kershaw, for whatever it's worth, he's a great regular season pitcher. And in the postseason, he just doesn't make it. It's really, really unfortunate. So I think they're going to win the division again. And they should make it. Maybe they'll win a series or 2. And, I'm actually, I'm picking them in the Nationals to make it to the World Series. You never know, of course, but the Dodgers have a really solid team. They could get it this year. They have some veterans that should help the team. Matt Kemp was gone. I don't think he was a big asset for the Dodgers, but they got in Jimmy Rollins. Hanley Ramirez, he's a good player, but now he's with Boston. But they have some young players coming up, Joe Peterson. I like the Dodgers. I like they have a bunch of a lot of good pitchers, and they should be hungry and they should be good.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers kind of stubbed their toe in the postseason last year. A lot of people picked them before the season started to go to the World Series. I was one of them, and they arguably were the best team in the major leagues, but they didn't get it done in the postseason. Let's go to the NL Central. I want to talk about my St. Louis Cardinals. They've had a pretty strong run. In 2013, they went to the World Series, lost to the Red Sox. 2011, they won the World Series. And they seem to be doing fine even without Albert Pujols, who left a few years ago, and Tony La Russa left a few years ago. So give us your take on the St. Louis Cardinals this season.
Well, the Cardinals, they have a solid team. Every year they're a contender. Has Adam Wainwright. He's a very, very good pitcher. He did have an elbow problem last year, but if he comes back, he should be okay. Matt Holliday, he's a little bit old. Yadier Molina, they're getting old, but they're still, very, very top-notch ball players. They have very good pitching in Michael Wacha, Carlos Martinez, and they also added Jason Hayward. So I think the Cardinals are going to be right in there. They have a good chance of winning the division.
And Michael Wacha, very young man. He's only like 24 years old and already had some World Series experience, so he could be a dark horse to do some things in terms of the Cy Young. Obviously, time will tell. Let's go to the Cubs since they're in the NL Central. Still have not won a World Series since 1908. I don't believe they've really done anything in the offseason. I don't think they've really done anything in a while. Give us your take about the team from the west side of Chicago.
Well, the Cubs, they have John Lester. That could be a big positive, not only for his pitching but for his leadership. They have a terrific general manager that has magic that he made the Red Sox win, so maybe he could do it with the Cubs also. Jason Hamel, he's a terrific pitcher. And now they have a great manager in Joe Madden. Joe Madden is, what he did with Tampa Bay all those years, and now he's doing it with Chicago. That can make a big difference. You say, it's the players, the manager really doesn't do much, just fills out the lineup card. But how did Joe Madden do it all those years with Tampa Bay Rays? And now he's doing it with the Chicago Cubs. Maybe he'll do some magic there.
Great point. You're right. Tampa Bay was nothing until Joe Madden got there, took him to a World Series, put him in playoff contention in arguably the toughest division in all Major League Baseball, the AL East, with the likes of the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. So the fact he was able to get some things done is impressive. So maybe that could be a bright side for Chicago. Fans are holding their breath. They heard that before, but we'll see what happens in Chicago Cub land. Let's move over to the NL East. Now, for the Phillies, Cliff Lee says he's going to try to pitch, but he's got a torn elbow. I want to know if you think that's smart. He is up there in age. Maybe that's why he's doing it. He doesn't have a lot of time left. The Phillies, we haven't really heard about their particular plans if Lee goes down, how they would recover. So give us your assessment of the Philadelphia Phillies.
I think the Phillies are they should really end up in the cellar. I think all the other teams are better than them. Atlanta's not much better, but, between Atlanta and Philadelphia, I think they're going to fight it out to the cellar. You have the Washington Nationals. I mean, they should win the division, but the Mets are much improved. Miami Marlins much better than they're playing. They keep on playing the Phillies, so the Phillies might have a really, really tough time. They don't have the pitching. That their hitting is very old. They just don't have it. I'd be surprised if they don't end up in last or next to last.
So, by the way, a lot of people are going to agree with you on that. What do you think is the reason Cliff Lee would try to pitch through a torn elbow on a team that's going to probably finish in last place? What do you think is the thought process for Cliff Lee?
Yeah, well, I'm surprised he's, Cliff Lee, he's had his good seasons, but, he's not going to make much of a difference.
All right, again, this is the Ari Louis Show here on Arut Sheva, Israel National Radio. The show is syndicated as Messiah Hour on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. And, of course, you can email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. We're talking some Major League Baseball preview of the season to start in a few weeks with Radio Mike. Let's go to the Marlins. They have that huge deal in the offseason with Stanton, the biggest contract in baseball history of the four major sports as well. So was that a smart idea to throw all that money? We've seen big contracts really explode for teams. It hasn't worked out with Pujols and the Angels, that amount of money. So give us your thoughts with the Marlins and that big sign in the offseason.
Well, the Miami Marlins, they have possibly the best outfield in baseball. They also have a very good infield. Their pitching is decent. They're going to get back Jose Fernandez sometime in June. Matt Letos, he's a very, very good starter. And then, once again, they're going against some weak teams as in the Phillies and Atlanta. And they have one of the best hitters in baseball in Stanton. So, you could expect good things from the Miami Marlins. No reason why they possibly can't make it possibly to the playoffs or certainly finish second place in the division.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a lot of pressure on Stanton and a lot of expectations from the Marlins. Talk about the Marlins' past history. They won 2 World Series, never won a division. Both times they won the World Series, they had a fire sale. They got rid of their players right away. That upset a lot of season ticket holders because they were expecting something big. Do you think things are starting to turn around in Miami? They changed their name.
It's very strange that, like you said, they always make fire sale after the win, but I think they're committed that if they have a good team to keep it a good team for a bunch of years. They have the new stadium, but they should try to keep it. They're not going to dismantle the team if they do very, very well. They're not going to win the division this year either because the Nationals, unless something really happens to their pitching staff. I mean, they have 4 or 5 great starters, frontline number 1 or number 2 pitchers. So every day they're going to have a great pitcher there. So I'd be shocked if the Nationals don't win the division. But Miami, they have a good chance of making the playoffs. And once you make the playoffs, you just never know. The ball bounces the right way. I'm not predicting they're going to make the playoffs, but they have a good chance of it anyway.
And you talk about the Washington Nationals. Let's go to them because they've had some strong seasons. A few years ago, they had 100 wins. Bryce Harper is a star on that team. They've had pretty good pitching. So give us your assessment. Should Washington National fans expect another 100-win year this year?
Yeah, well, you're never going to have too much pitching. You never know what happens. But, you have Max Scherzer. So that was a big, big signing of the all season. You have another guy, Tanner Roark. You have great hitters and Ryan Zimmerman. Escobar, they're good players. And then I think Bryce Harper, maybe it's time for him to actually live up to some of his hype. I mean, he was Rookie of the Year. He has a short-term contract. I think I'm not sure if it's up this year or next year, but now it's time for him to really put out and get a big-time contract, and he should have a good year. He has a good year and carried the team. The only problem I see with the Nationals is that I could easily see them winning the division by 10 or 15 games, and then it comes to the playoffs, they could lose that first series, and there'll be another disaster. But the season might be a little boring for the Washington Nationals. It's just, I'd be shocked if they don't win the division by at least 10, 12 games.
Yeah, great point. We've seen that happen. Teams in the past, they don't have a meaningful game to play in September. They get rusty. You see the hot teams that barely get in the playoffs then do very well. Cardinals of 06 comes to mind. They played a Game 7 type of baseball for 3 weeks, and they end up winning the World Series. Let's talk about the New York Mets. I'm sure you want to talk about them. They've really been a disaster since 2006 when Carlos Beltran struck out looking at Adam Wainwright. 2007 they fall apart despite having a big lead over the Phillies. Really haven't done much since. What's going to go on in New York Metland?
Well, the New York Mets, I might be shocking some of my friends back in New York. My son-in-law was a very big Mets fan. also a Tampa Rays fan too. But I am actually predicting them to make the playoffs. I mean, they have an abundance of pitching. Matt Harvey's coming off a big-time injury. He had Tommy John surgery, and so that's a big question mark. But in the preseason, you can't go by preseason alone, but he's already throwing in preseason 98 miles per hour. So that's very, very positive for the Mets. They have really an abundance of pitching. They need a better catcher, a better shortstop. They have an abundance of pitching. Maybe they'll trade one of their pitchers. They have Noah Syndergaard, Steven Matz. He's a up-and-coming guy. He might be good. And they have Arnaud, who was a catcher last year. I think he figured out how to hit a little bit. They have Suda at first base, Murphy. Hopefully Wright can hit something this year. I mean, he's been pretty poor the last 2 or 3 seasons, but maybe he'll get some do a lot better with other players around them, and they should have a good season. I'm actually predicting that they can make the wild card.
All right, so we're going to get to division predictions, and we'll go, this segment will be National League, next segment American League. But before we get to division winners and your predictions, let's get your predictions of Cy Young. As I mentioned, Clayton Kershaw, the reigning Cy Young winner. There'll be, Wacho will probably be a dark horse. Could be someone from the Nationals. Could be someone from the Mets. What do you like to win the Cy Young in the National League?
I don't know. I still think Kershaw is a good pitcher. I think he can win it again. Matt Harvey, I know he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. He was doing really, really well before his injury. He's a candidate there. Wainwright, he had very good 2014 numbers. I would go with one of those three. I mean, really, these guys are top-of-the-line pitchers. No reason why they can't repeat.
All right, and as far as the most valuable player, also Kershaw's the reigning winner there. Who do you like to win the MVP in the National League this season?
As I said before, I kind of like Bryce Harper. He's been around for a number of years, and, maybe he shouldn't crash all the time into the outfield wall. If he stays healthy and comes into his own, and he's fighting for a new contract, he could have a good year. So I'm going to go with Bryce Harper. He's a good all-around player, and he has a good team around him, and I think he could win the MVP this year.
All right, and great point about the contract year. We see a lot of players do very well when they have a contract coming up. Again, this is the Ari Louis Show here on Israel National Radio, Root Sheva. The show is syndicated as Messiah Hour on YouTube. And you can go to YouTube and type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. Of course, a reminder, I'm on JApp. JApp is a Jewish application which features shiurim from big rabbis, as well as lectures from historians and episodes of this program. JApp can be found by the website www.j-app.me, and you can download JApp from iTunes and Google Play stores. Our guest this afternoon is Radio Mike. We're going to wrap up the NL in this segment. So let's get some division winners. Let's start out in the NL West. Who you like to take the division there?
Definitely the Dodgers. They're a good team. They might get some competition, but not too much competition from the San Diego Padres, who are much, much improved. They did sign a whole bunch of free agents, and they actually did something this year. They were one of a horrible, horrible hitting team last year, but with the addition of Matt Kemp, Justin Upton, Will Myers, a new catcher in Derek Norris, that's going to help their offense a lot. And they have some decent pitching. James Shields, that's a big addition for them. But I think they could even, they're not going to win the division. I'm predicting the Dodgers, but they can make some noise. They possibly could even get the wild card.
Okay, so we talk about the West. Let's go to the NL Central. Who do you like there?
I'm going to go with your St. Louis Cardinals.
All right.
With an outside chance of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh did lose a couple players, but they still have a formidable team. They have possible MVP over there in McCutcheon. He has great numbers year after year. Probably one of the best center fielders, if not the best center fielder in baseball. But I will go with your St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, they've had a really strong run for many years now. If you go all the way back to 1999, they've basically been in the playoffs every year except for a few. So we're expecting big things for the Cardinals. And let's go over to the NL East. Who do you like to take the division there?
Well, obviously the Nationals. They don't have any competition. And the fact that they don't have any competition, that could be a bad thing. You know, they're going to be rusty. They're going to just go through the whole season. And then, then hopefully they don't choke in the postseason. But, when you have it too easy, sometimes that's not the best thing. Competition, tough competition sometimes makes you tougher and makes you better.
Yeah, indeed. And baseball has now 2 wild cards. They've had this for the past few years. Kind of a strange system is what they have. Who do you like for the 2 wild cards?
Well, I'm going to go, I'll go on the record saying San Diego and the Mets. And
wow.
The outside chance, the Mets and San Diego, they're much improved. And I'm going to go also possibly with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Wow,
so,
okay.
Just 2 of those 3 teams.
All right. All right, so there's Radio Mike's picks for the National League, including not just division winners, wild card winners, but Cy Young as an MVP as well. We'll take a quick break, and we'll have more on the other side. This is the Ari Louis Show here on Israel National Radio. Ruth Sheva. The show is syndicated as the Messiah Hour on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. You can also email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, it is a Jewish country, go ahead and send me an email there. Any guests you'd like me to interview in the future, any topics you'd like me to discuss, again, send the email to messiahhour@gmail.com. And if you'd like to make a financial contribution to the program, you can do so through my PayPal account at IsraelSportsRadio@yahoo.com. We'll take a quick break and have more with Radio Mike on the other side. This is the Ari Louis Show here on IsraelNationalRadio.com.